Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be another episode in my top 3 favorites in every category. And today we're talking about base products. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we're doing another video in my top 3 favorites in every category. It's the themed week we're doing this month in September. I like to come on here once a month where I do like all videos that have a similar theme, and I thought this month it would be nice to go over my top 3 favorites in every category. If you want to see swatches with any of these, or if you want to see them going onto my face, all you need to do is use the search bar either here on the channel or on my blog, and you will be able to find everything you need there if there's any product I'm showing you today that is of particular interest to you. And yeah, today we're talking everything that I like to do before I put any makeup on my face. So primer, foundation, concealer, powder. I don't have setting spray, but I'll explain in a minute why that is. But yeah, before we get into it, I would like to introduce myself for those people who may not know who I am. My name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences my makeup choices, therefore also my top 3 favorites in every category. I love, love, love trying makeup, which is why I've been doing it for more than a decade. I really enjoy trying out new eyeshadow palettes, Essence & Catrice products, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that sounds like a channel you're interested in, then I hope you'd like to consider subscribing and joining my little family here. So yes, base products edition, that's what we're talking about today. And I mentioned in my intro there would not be setting spray. Why aren't there going to be any setting sprays in this overview? Because I currently only have one setting spray that I even like. It is in my possession, but it's currently not being used because I'm trying to use up another setting spray before I can go back to this favorite one, and it's the ColourPop Pretty Fresh setting spray. So I'll pop a picture up on the screen here. I think I tried it for the first time last year or at the end of 2021, I think, and it took a good while for me to use up a bottle, which with setting spray, it's something I can go through quite quickly, which is why I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on them. I've tried several from Essence & Catrice in the past that I also like. The Catrice Multi-Talent is one that comes to mind straight away, but I haven't owned that one for a while, so I don't know if that's still even around or anything like that. Very often what I do is that I buy the ones that come in the updates that Essence & Catrice do. I try them, I use them up, and by the time I'm ready to make a repurchase, they have already moved on their collection to something new, and there's always something new going on. Which is why I try quite a few setting sprays, but there's never been the longevity where I truly feel I need to make a repurchase and go back to it. So that's why the ColourPop Pretty Fresh is the only one I can confidently recommend and say, okay, this is truly a favorite. I like the Urban Decay All Nighter, but I only travel with it and I only ever use it if I really need my makeup to last all day. I actually find most setting sprays to be too drying for my skin. So where, yes, it makes my makeup last just a little bit longer, I don't enjoy most setting sprays because I feel that once they settle down and they dry down my makeup, it also makes my makeup look more cakey, which is why I'm not a huge fan of setting spray, and it is a step that I very often just forget to do because it just, with my dry skin and what my preferences are, I don't really feel I need setting spray per se. I just really enjoy the sensation of using a setting spray on my face, and if it can add a little bit more hydration to my makeup and sort of make everything mesh together, then I'm happy. But very often I don't like the finish of my makeup once the setting spray has settled down. So that's why I cannot possibly recommend a top 3 favorite setting spray category for you here, because it's just not part of my collection. I tend to buy one, use it up, and then I move on to another thing usually. It's been a while. Like that ColourPop Pretty Fresh is the first setting spray I've repurchased, I think, in like the past 4 years. So that says a lot in my case. So let me start where I usually start my makeup look, which is face primer. So I'm also someone who uses eye primer, but I'll save those for the eye category, which I'll be showing you on Sunday. So if you want to know what my favorite eye primers are, stay tuned. But yeah, I do have a couple of favorite when it comes to face primers. And I could have gone like, you know, hydrating face primers and glowy face primers because I like both of those. but I've just decided to go with a mix here. And again, like with the setting spray, a lot of the primers I try are by Essence and Catrice, and similar issue as with the setting sprays. Very often the Essence and Catrice primers only stay around for one round in their updates, and then I need to go out and try stuff, which is why actually other primers don't get a lot of use in my makeup collection, because I'm always continuously trying out these Essence and Catrice bits, hoping that they are as good as some of the things I've tried in the past. So that's why it's very difficult for me to go back to them, because Essence and Catrice change up their line so often that even if I say, oh, I really, really like this, very often you can no longer buy it anymore by the time I do a video like this. So that's why I've gone through for 3 solid favorites. I think 2 of them may have been featured in a video like this in the past. The other one is a newer favorite. So let me tell you about what I've used on my face today. This is the Milk Hydro Grip Primer that I just really enjoy. I went through like a couple of travel sizes and minis before I decided to bite the bullet and buy the full size. The only issue I have with this primer is how quickly I go through it. I've only had this in my like shop my stash and using it on the daily, I think end of July, early August, and in August, I was trying a lot of new makeup, so this was sort of like in my drawer, but I didn't necessarily need it every single day. And it's already almost halfway done, because you might think, oh, there's so much product left, but I'm not sure if you can see on camera. Maybe if I turn it this way. But all of this is the plunger that pushes the product up. So I really only have like half the bottle left, and there is a little bit of a dome on this little plastic thing at the bottom as well that pushes the product up. So there isn't as much product in here as you might think. Just saying, it does still come with the standard like 40-50 mils that a primer usually comes in if you buy it full size. This is one of my favorites because it's, I think, the first hydrating primer I've ever tried that truly sets down and makes my makeup stick while also being hydrating, because a lot of them are either hydrating or they make your makeup stick, and this one definitely does both. In case you want to know my thoughts on the e.l.f. Power Grip, which is a dupe for this, my skin did not like it because I have sensitive skin, and I've used it once or twice, and it makes me very itchy, and just like it makes me want to scratch my skin off, so I can't use that. I just can't. This one, no issues. The e.l.f. one, I get an allergic reaction. So that's no bueno, which is why I still like my Milk one a lot more than the e.l.f. one does. So I hope this never goes away. I will eventually repurchase this at some point, but I'm currently trying to use this up so I can actually get to some of the other primers in my makeup collection. This, I think I featured quite a lot. I have a mini of this that I take with me whenever I travel, but the MAC Strobe Cream, again, a product where I've tried 1 or 2 minis, which I've used up completely, which made me buy the full size. This is in the shade Pink Light, which I think is the original shade that it used to come in, and now it comes in multiple shades. This is really pretty if you want that glowy effect, but still also hydrating while also adding a bit of glow, and it makes your makeup last. I think the MAC Strobe Cream is one of those long-standing makeup products that was doing primer before anyone was actually talking about primer, which is why I like it. And then you might be expecting me to show you the new Catrice Soft Liquid Filter. I really enjoy that product, but I'm still testing it out, so I can't say whether it's a favorite yet. I wanted to make sure I didn't feature too many of the new Essence and Catrice stuff in, unless I feel I've really been able to give it a review and tried it already, like with the new tinted lip oils that Catrice has done, but most of it I'm still in the midst of testing it out. So if you want to hear my thoughts on all of the new Essence and Catrice stuff, you would definitely have to come back, because whenever I've tried everything, I always do an update video a couple of months later. So for this round, it's probably going to be November or December that I will be showing you that. But that's why my final primer is the Heimish Artless Glow Base, and this is essentially the MAC Strobe Cream but by a K-beauty brand, and it's got SPF 50. So this is really, really nice. It's got a very nice balmy texture. It's very hydrating on the skin. This makes my skin look perfect and it works so well under makeup. And I love how this is that like skincare makeup hybrid. However, with this formula, if I use too much, it can actually make my makeup slide around. So to truly get the SPF that this product has, I actually use an actual SPF as part of my skincare routine before putting this on, because I feel I cannot overly use this because then my makeup doesn't sit very well on top of it. So that's the downside. You need a lot of SPF to get the factor that it promises on the bottle, which is why I would always recommend to go in with a separate skincare, like actual SPF as part of a skincare routine, and not rely on makeup-like products to deliver the skincare, like the SPF to you, because that might actually backfire. So let's just get a boring product out of the way. Powder. I'm not much of a powder gal. I've already mentioned I've got pretty dry skin. I've got sensitive skin, and a lot of things I really don't even need powder with. I prefer a dewy finish. The only thing I really do with a powder is to set my concealer, which I kind of use in my T-zone because that's where I have some redness, and concealers usually have a quite like thicker texture, but I don't use it anywhere else on my face. So I like finishing powders over setting powders. So that may be good to know. If you have oily skin, you may need something that truly mattifies everything and keeps it in place. But here again, like with a setting spray, I feel that for me to make my makeup last the longest, I'm much more dependent on what happens in my skincare routine and what primer I use and what the actual foundation does than whatever I put on top afterwards, if that makes sense. You can definitely use like a setting spray and a powder to make things last just a little bit longer, but I feel that it can also very much make things look a little bit more cakey throughout the day, especially if you have dry skin, which is why I have very limited powder options and I don't try a lot of powders. Again, like with a setting spray, I like to use one up before I move on to the next thing. And I've already done a short with these. It's actually one that is getting quite a lot of views, surprisingly, but these two I consider to be dupes, and they're both in my makeup collection because the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Diffuse Light comes in a mini that I travel with. So this is my travel powder. It works really well. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, so it's not too mattifying, but it does enough for me personally to be setting things in place so that it doesn't slide around and things don't get creasy, especially like here where I've got like all my frown lines and I've got some fine lines underneath my eyes. And a powder like this just prevents anything from like truly cracking off my face. And this works wonderfully. I've had some of this for years, but it's expensive, which is why I just really enjoy that I have found this. This is the Kiko Radiant Fusion Baked Powder in, oh, the shade has worn off. Now I no longer know what shade. It's the lightest one. It's 1, I think. This is mine. Remember what I said about using up a powder? Yeah, I use up my powders, people. That's why I only have a handful of them in my makeup collection at a given time, especially if they last as long as this one does. This is lasting me longer than the Hourglass one that I used up in the past. Yeah. This is really good. I feel that it does a similar thing on my face as the diffused light from Hourglass does. For some people this may be too yellow, but I actually like how the yellow kind of neutralizes my redness. And again, it means I don't have to use as much concealer, so it works every time. And yeah, this is, I'm trying to use it up before the end of the year so I can put it in my like makeup empties for the year that I always do in January. And this is just one that I know I will repurchase for sure because it does the same thing for me as the Hourglass. And again, Hourglass is made in Italy. Kiko is made in Italy. So they're not just duping Lisa Eldridge stuff. They also dupe things like Charlotte Tilbury, Hourglass, and Laura Mercier, but we'll talk about some of those dupes in a minute. But yeah, this is a great pairing. I love having these, and if I could just use one powder for the rest of my life, that Kiko one would do me just fine. But if Kiko is not available to you and you can get your hands on the Essence Skin Loving Sensitive Powder, they still do this. I actually have like 3 of these in backup because I was afraid that we're going to discontinue this. This is so great. And I've used, this is like my third one, I think. I've used up 2 of these in the past. This is a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powder, the one in a very cute rose gold packaging. This only comes in 1 shade though, which is a bit of a shame. For a lot of people, this can perhaps be too dark and too like yellowy, like the shade of the Kiko one, but for me this works perfectly. Oh, by the way, I completely forgot to say, but the Hourglass or the Kiko one, it's not 100% the same because the name on it is slightly different, but they also have like a white base transparent powder that I feel works very similarly to the Radiant one. So if you think the Kiko one is too yellow toned, try the white one. They have a transparent one, just so you know. But yeah, this little essence guy is just great. Formula-wise, it's the Charlotte Tilbury one to a T. And I really, really rate this highly, which is why I have so many backups, because I'm just scared to death that they're going to be decluttering or like discontinuing this. And with the Kiko one, that one lasts me, like the one I'm currently using, I think I started using it towards the end of last year and it's still not used up. Whereas this one, it's going to be used up in like 2 or 3 months time, which is another reason why powders, like with setting sprays, you can go through them super quickly. Why I don't like buying them from high-end brands, because also the Charlotte Tilbury one that I tried in the past, I used up so quickly. This one does as well, because it's got quite a lot of kick up every time you use it. So I prefer to put my money towards the Kiko one, because for every Kiko one I buy, I would have to buy 3 or 4 of this to get as much wear time out of it. And the Kiko one is like 3 times as expensive as this one is, but I can use it for a lot longer. So in the end, the Kiko one is going to be cheaper for me. But yeah, I do really enjoy this Essence one as well. Next category I want to chat to you about is concealer. And I've struggled with concealer lately, not because I don't have favorites, but because some of the favorites I had, I've used up, and I bought formulas that I wanted to try, and not a lot of it has truly stuck with me as being a true favorite until very, very recently. I definitely need to try some more concealers and find new favorites again, because I used up the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define, and for years that was my all-time favorite concealer, and I used it up again this year, and I just wasn't feeling it. I was like, oh, I don't think I have to go and repurchase it. So I think that concealer-wise, there have just been other formulas that have come to market that either I haven't tested or that weren't quite right for me, that have replaced a lot of the things that I used to like. So a lot of the things I liked, I can no longer buy, or like it's been discontinued or whatever. So I'm currently a little bit starting to think about trying to find a good new concealer. So I've bought some when I was in the UK. I've actually made a purchase from Notino to get my hands on some additional Essence products for my recent Essence video. And I decided to throw in some concealers and a foundation from some European-based brands as well to try some. So I think in December or January, I want to do like an overview of some newer concealers that I've tried to see if there's anything there that I like, and sort of really test them out. Speaking of really testing it out, I didn't realize this, but formula-wise, I love this thing. So this is where we need to start. It's actually showing where. Do you see that? I actually, like, you can actually see how far it's gone down because I haven't used it continuously. But this is the Dior Forever Skin Corrector. And I bought this last year for a full face of Dior in the shade 1N, because it's the lightest shade that is available to me here in the Netherlands. There is a lighter shade. There is a 0N. It just doesn't exist in my country. And it's just a hair too deep. But then I had this theory this year. If I wear this over the summertime, perhaps the shade isn't too dark for me. And it worked. So this is my summer shade. Fine. Formula-wise, this is outstanding. So I'm very, very glad that I decided to keep this around and not declutter it just for the shade, because I was able to make it work perfectly and it blended in so nicely. Also because I only tend to use concealer in like the middle of my face where most of my redness is, and not down by my jawline and my neck, which is where I'm palest. So in a way, I can get away with wearing 2 different foundation shades, a deeper one in the middle to really cover my redness, because I find that if a foundation matches my neck, I sometimes don't get the coverage I need in the middle of my face to cover up the redness. And this, because it also has a little bit of a yellow tone, actually covers up the redness really, really well. So I've been rating this really nicely. I wore this on super hot days, on very humid days, on very rainy days. This really stands, like, just withstands everything. No creasing, no nothing. It still looks perfect throughout the day. It's not overly greasy either, which, as much as I love my Glossier Stretch Concealer, it does have a lot of oil to it, so I prefer that one more so in the winter time. I could have featured that here as well, but I wanted to feature something else, and if I'm like thinking of my current like top 3 favorites, then these are the ones that are making the cut. Very recent discovery. This is currently in my Shop My Stash and I've been super impressed with it, and I had not expected it because it is a Charlotte Tilbury product. And I've actually decluttered a lot of Charlotte Tilbury in the past year because it just, shade-wise, it can be very difficult. But I have just found that Charlotte Tilbury is a brand that I don't love for color products because everything is so warm, but she can do a base product just fine. So I would still be interested in some of the base products that she comes out with. The Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer, I did not have high expectations for, because the Beautiful Skin, like foundation skin tint like product she launched wasn't great for me, mainly because of the shade range. The shade range was a bit shoddy, but this shade range is actually good. I'm 4 fair in this. How? And I actually started using this because the Dior one was getting a little bit too dark for me, but this is sort of like bridging the gap to my like super pale winter skin and the kind of skin tone I am now perfectly. And this, very similar formula I feel to the Dior. It doesn't budge. I was wearing this all throughout like early September when we were still having some sort of heat wave over here. It was like 30 degrees. I wore this to work. I was talking to colleagues and students all days. So I was using my face and all my expression lines didn't show. And that's how I know that I've got a good concealer. So the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Concealer, I just have to praise it into the high heavens, because this is like a concealer that was newly launched in the last 2 years that I actually did enjoy. So much of it was far too mattifying and drying on my skin, but this is truly hydrating. It truly looks beautiful on the skin, but it also gives coverage, and the shade match is just on point, which again, 4 fair. I bought it during Black Friday and a lot of the other shades were actually out of stock, so I kind of just went with it. And I remember like having, like if I reached a certain threshold with my order, I got some free stuff. So that's why I just chucked this into a bag just to give it a whirl, and it now ends up being an unexpected favorite. But I think one of the best products, and I think this actually launched this year, I think. So again, like in the spring-summer collection of Catrice, we got the under eye brightener. Instant Awake under eye brightener in light rose. They now also do this in a yellow tone. So if you have a warmer undertone, definitely check out this product because they still do the pink one as well. And this is so good. I've kept this over my Charlotte Tilbury corrector because that was a little too peach. And this, if I want to use a corrector, this is great. I can actually wear it by itself. Like if I just like first go in with this and then apply foundation on top and I just dab a little bit of my foundation over it, I can forgo concealer. This is great. I've never been able to try this product, so don't quote me on this, but this is reminding me of the description that I've seen a lot of people give of the Becca under eye brightener. I don't remember what that was exactly called, but I feel this is a dupe for that product at the drugstore price point, which is again a reason why I have to try it. Catrice is just one of those brands that when they get it right, they outperform high-end every single time, but they don't always get it right. That's why I try their products. But yeah, if I've said this in other videos as well, I actually got this question as part of my Q&A. Do you ever go back to your Essence and Catrice stuff? I do. If I love it, it ends up being a firm favorite and it gets mentioned in these kind of videos for sure. but they also just do a lot that's incredibly superfluous. And I'm trying to do the update videos that I do every 6 months whenever they have new launches, to sort of help you try and see and wade through the storm and just find the gems, because both lines have incredibly good products. It just takes a lot of trial and error to find the good things. And then we just have foundation left, and here I have 3 categories because I have to split it up. I've got drugstore, I've got high-end, and I have skin tints and BB creams. So let me start with the drugstore stuff first. And I think that if you've seen my drugstore foundation overview that I did, I think in the springtime, I actually made a point of trying some drugstore foundation again, because I had just spent so much time trying out more high-end things the past couple of years. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try some brands that I've never even heard of, and I'm going to try these formulas to see what I like. And that led me to find this gem. This is the Luminizer Natural Glow Fluid Foundation in the shade Light. This is a Finnish drugstore brand, and people from Finland in my comments have told me how this is like the starting brand if you're Finnish and you're trying to get into makeup. Which makes sense. They seem to be doing a lot of shades that are very much catering to pale skin tones though. If you have deep skin, you may not be able to find your shade, but their formulas. I also tried their blurring one. That wasn't my favorite. It was a little bit too mattifying, but this brand is definitely now on my radar. They are a little bit higher priced for drugstore though, I have to say, but this just ended up being my favorite, and I rated this so highly compared to everything else, so I definitely had to give it a mention here. What also needs to get a mention is the new Catrice Tinted Serum Foundation. They launched this in the springtime, and it instantly made it to like top of the list, like top of my drugstore skincare favorites, or skincare foundation favorites for sure. I have this in shade 004N. Again, not even the lightest shade. It's perfect. It is that tinted serum-like sort of foundation, but it's still a foundation, I feel, even though I could have put this in the skin tint category, but then I couldn't show you some of my other favorite skin tints. So that's why I figured this is a great drugstore option, and I just love this. This isn't out everywhere, I'm very well aware. But yeah, if you have access to a website like Boozy Shop, they tend to ship internationally, and you're willing to splurge and pay the custom, like the shipping and handling fees, you can get your hands on this. And I think this comes in a pretty decent amount of shades. It comes in like 20 shades or something, which for Catrice, it's an improvement. I'm not saying they're there yet, but this is definitely starting to come into like some deeper shades as well. So love this, and I compared it to my original all-time favorite Catrice foundation, which was the HD Liquid Radiant, and this is better. This is better. And my final drugstore recommendation is still, till this day, the NYX Born to Glow. I have this in the shade Porcelain. This is great. If you want to look like a grease ball, try this from the drugstore. This is really great, lightweight. I love how easy to travel this packaging is. This makes my skin look flawless, and whenever I've worn this in videos, a lot of people have told me how good my skin looks. It's usually this. So yeah, the NYX Born to Glow has to get a shout out again here. So let's talk about those skin tints next, because I think that's a nice sort of like segue into the rest of the video. So yeah, let's do skin tint first. I have said how I really enjoyed this guy. This is by Hema. This is their Bay Shake Up Skin Tint in the shade Natural Tan. And I actually saw this discounted on their website, so I'm not sure if they're going to be discontinuing this or not. It looks really dark if you look at it, but this shears out beautifully and then it lightens, and this is so good. I'm not sure yet because I'm currently in the midst of trying some more skin tints, because I want to do a skin tint overview for you in October. But so far I still feel that this is actually one of my favorite skin tints I've ever tried. So that's why it had to make an appearance here. It's very cheap and cheerful. If you have access to Hema, definitely check it out. But I think when it comes to skin tints, I need to try this again before I sit down to film that video. But yeah, the Rare Beauty Skin Tint. This is the Positive Light Tinted Moisturizer in shade 16C. This was a revelation to me when I tried it. I did not like the look of the actual foundation they do, but Rare Beauty and their formulas, it's just marvelous. Is this again? Oh no, this is made in Italy. A Rare Beauty product that was made in Italy and not in Korea. Okay, okay. But yeah, Rare Beauty is just one of my favorite brands currently. They do a lot of the things that I just love, and it really goes with my makeup aesthetic, and this tinted moisturizer is definitely one of them. I wanted to mention a BB cream in here as well. If you've seen my BB cream overview that I did last July as part of K-Beauty Week, you know that the Misha Choboyoung BB cream, this is in shade 17, is my favorite one that I tried when I did that overview, so you can go to that video if you want to see the rest. But yeah, this is so stunning. It's very hydrating, really rich and creamy and lovely, and it looks beautiful on the skin. This, I'm so glad I own this product, and therefore I had to give it a mention here. And I don't think this next top 3 has actually changed that much, because I haven't been trying a lot of high-end foundations. I've been trying BB creams, I've been trying drugstore foundations, mainly in the past year. So that means that my top 3 favorite high-end foundations, I don't think it has changed, because I think last year I also talked about the Dior Backstage. This is in shade 0N. This is actually one of my favorite foundations to travel with because it is like medium coverage, but it still has a bit of glow. It's not too matte. It lasts all day. Like if you want to get 18 hours of wear out of a foundation, this is the one. And when I travel and I'm like, you know, traveling across the country and I'm in the dry air conditioning of an airplane and I put it on in the morning and then I want to wear it for the rest of the day, this, every single time, this, because it's just lovely. It's really good, and I still highly recommend it. And for how expensive it is, you should know that this comes with 50 milliliters of product, which is more, almost twice as much as a standard foundation will give you, because a standard foundation is 30 mils. So yes, it's an expense, but for the amount this goes for, you get a lot of product as well. And I feel with this one, a little goes a long way. If you use it a little bit more and you apply thin layers, you can get full coverage out of this. But if you use a little bit and you shear it out a lot, you can very much adapt the coverage to your liking, which is why this is such a versatile product. And I love it for that reason. And we all know about my love about like the Armani Luminous Silk, man. I just love it. Shade 3, perfect shade match. And I just love it. For what this sounds like when you read descriptions online, or if you've ever seen anybody review it, I feel it doesn't just live up to the hype, but it also exceeded my expectations. And this is one of the most expensive foundations I've ever tried. This is like, what, 60 euros, 55, 60 euros? It's expensive, but it's so beautiful, and it comes in so many shades that you will just find your undertone. I would recommend getting it shade matched in store for you because it's just a little bit easier. But yeah, this is beautiful, and I really put this through the ringer when I reviewed it, and I fell in love so hard. And still till this day, if I look at my entire makeup drawer and I look at my foundations in there and I need to pick my top 3 favorite more expensive foundations, this one makes the cut for sure. And last but not least, this may come a little bit as a shock because I think some people might expect me to include the Lisa Eldridge foundation here, but that one is not like registered as like top 5 favorites. It's like in my top 10, but it's not like top 5, you could say. And I was thinking, you know what? This guy, still, it's been discontinued, but the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder in shade 2 Fair, it's my perfect shade match. And this together with that Radiant Skin Concealer, I think is a look. It's a look for sure. Again, very easy to use plastic packaging that you can travel with. I've used so much of it that it's like down to here, so you can definitely see the usage on this one as well. This also comes with a little bit more. It's 40 milliliters of product. It's one of my best light coverage dewy foundations that stays put. Like, for a very long time there, a lightweight dewy foundation meant it would melt off your face within a couple of hours. This was the first foundation I tried that fit the light dewy bill, but that saw me through a workday and then lasted through a workout class. I don't know what does, but that is a good foundation to me, and I'm so sad to see that they've discontinued it because I just don't think the new Beautiful Skin is as good as this is. I just like this better. Sorry. So that's it. There you have it. Those were all of my favorites when it comes to base products. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this video today. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I have 2 more videos coming your way with some more top 3 favorites in every category. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for more. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.